Hi everyone, how you doing? Hope your day's going pretty well. I saw Uncharted and it was more like unfarted. Boy oh boy was this movie not good, so I actually paid money and I saw this in theaters because why not, I guess. And I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting something that was at least competent, but that really isn't the case for this movie. Now, I'm going to preface this right now and say that I don't have any pre-established connection with the games. I never got into them. I was never a PlayStation boy. I was more of like a little Nintendo shithead. But that being said, I feel like even if you aren't a fan of the games, you should be able to go into a movie that's based on the games and get some sort of enjoyment out of it either way, which should be the goal of these types of movies. But I feel like even fans of the games aren't really going to like this for what it is. First of all, let me just get this out of the way. This is going to be a spoiler review because I want to talk about things that just happen in this movie, so I'm going to keep this quick and yeah, we'll just jump right into it, as Philly D always says. So the plot of this movie is that Nathan Drake is this kid, and he's not really a kid because he's a bartender, but it's Tom Holland, so he's basically a kid, and he's working as a bartender in this place, and then Sully comes across him and he's like, hey, I heard you like exploring and I know where to find your brother. And Tom Holland is like, you know how to find me brother? And that he doesn't really sound like that. He's got like a weird Boston American accent or some shit. And Sully's like, yeah, I know where to find your brother. You want to team up and partner up? Yeah, but I don't trust you that much, but sure, let's partner up. And so then they partner up, and then they go to Spain and they partner up with this one chick who then betrays Tom Holland later, and you see it coming a mile away. And then Tom Holland fights with Sully, and he's mad at Sully because he doesn't really tell him what happens with his brother, and they're not really specific about it anyway, but he's still mad at him for some reason. So then Tom Holland goes back to like the airplane with Sully, and then they like fall out of the plane. He reunites with the girl that betrayed him, and because she learns that she messed up, and she's like, I'm not gonna say sorry for what I did, and he's like, I don't fucking care, and it doesn't go anywhere. And then they're like in the room trying to figure out where the treasure might be, and then or where Sam might be with the treasure, because that's the whole motivation. And then he's like, oh, I'm gonna stay up all night and figure it out while you go ahead and fall asleep. And so she falls asleep, and then he figures it out, and so then he falls asleep. She wakes up, she looks at the coordinates, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna leave without telling you, bye-bye. And then she leaves, and then he wakes up and he's like, haha, stupid bitch, I fucking wrote the real coordinates and hid them somewhere. So then he goes off and goes to the real coordinates because he knew that she would betray him, which we also knew as the audience because you see it coming a mile away. And then he meets up back with Sully at like the lost treasure ships area or whatever. It's like pirate ships, and the treasure's inside of them in like this cove. And then the main villain chick comes and she's like, hey, I'm gonna steal these ships. So then she picks them up with helicopters, and then fight scene happens. It's very bad. Nathan and Sully make up, and then they see the one chick, and she's like, haha, you guys, you tricked me, Tom Holland. You sent me the wrong direction. I owe you little bastard shit. And then Nathan and Sully, they fly off into the sunset, and then the movie ends with the fucking reveal that his brother's still alive in like a jail cell somewhere, and he's writing them post-it notes from there or something, postcards, whatever. This movie is just Tom Holland playing himself and Mark Wahlberg playing himself, which I guess if you like that type of movie, you're gonna really like this because it's just them being themselves the entire time. Tom Holland is kind of a sarcastic, smarmy, young little kid boy man sort of thing, and Mark Wahlberg is just this sarcastic, like kind of boomer dude who is really snarky and sarcastic, and they're both sarcastic to each other the whole time, and it's just a sarcastic, really fun, sarcastic, fucking fun time sarcastic. This movie was directed by Ruben Fleischer. I don't know what other movies he's done, but this is a very poor display of what he is able to put out. First of all, the writing in this movie is just not good. The character dialogue just sucks. It feels as though the writers for this movie wrote lines of dialogue and they said to themselves, oh man, that's really funny. Oh, that's really clever. Yeah, we should put that in the movie. Oh, it'll work. Oh yeah, this will come across as really like smart and interesting and innovative, and it feels like a first draft script. Like it's not even good. And then second of all, there's like multiple betrayals in this movie that you see coming a mile away. The chick betrays Tom Holland, and then Tom Holland betrays the chick, when they get back together, and then the villain chick betrays the main bad guy, Antonio Banderas. It's just a multi-level marketing of betrayals in this film, and it feels cheap and unoriginal, and you can just see it coming straight for you like a car that I wanted to jump in front of. Second of all, the action in this movie is pretty shitty. It reminded me a lot of the Taken sequels. The first Taken is fine for what it is. It's just a dumb action film that's pretty entertaining, but then 2 and 3 are just atrocious when it comes to pretty much everything in them, but especially the fight choreography and the way it's shot. It's a lot of shaky cam, handheld, quick cut bullshit that you find in a lot of action movies that I feel like we were starting to move past with the era of John Wick and a lot of the other movies that came out after it. But I guess there are still some movies and studios that are just willing to just bullshit their way through it, and you can clearly tell that they have no idea what they're doing in terms of making an action scene cohesive and understandable. Like, if you're a fan of the games, I can't imagine this movie will be any good for you to watch because you can't tell what the hell's going on in terms of action. A lot of it is just drenched in CGI. A lot of the CGI is pretty bad. A lot of the special effects are just really noticeable, and it kind of takes you out of the movie every time they pop up, which is a lot, especially in the plane cargo scene, which they're marketing really heavily for this movie because people think it's like the best part of the film when really it just all blends together into this one big stupidness. I didn't like the character relationships. I didn't like the way that Tom Holland's character, Nathan Drake, I guess, and Mark Wahlberg's Sully interacted with each other, especially towards the end. It all just felt really convenient in the moment. It didn't feel like they had reached a point where they had earned the sort of relationship that they get at the end, which is sort of like that kind of big brother / father figure, father-son pseudo relationship that they have, I guess, but it really feels forced, and you're just kind of told that they're that way instead of it being convincing and making you feel that it's actually that way. As someone who's not a fan of the games and is just going into this with the mindset that I'm just going to see a film, it was a pretty poorly done film overall, and I was not expecting it to be high art at all, but I was at least expecting to get some kind of enjoyment out of it, and I really didn't. If I had to say anything positive about this movie, I guess it's that Tom Holland is good at playing himself and Mark Wahlberg is good at playing himself. A lot of the sets and a lot of the locations felt really boring and bland, and that we've seen done a bunch better in other movies. There's a scene where Tom Holland has to chase this girl on the rooftops in Belarus, and there are so many other instances in movies where similar scenes like that are just done way better. Like, take the Bourne movies, for example, where there are multiple instances of rooftop chase scenes that are done significantly better than in Uncharted, and you can apply that to a bunch of other different films. Everything felt really cheap, everything felt really fake, everything felt really disingenuous with this film. It just felt like a synthetic thing that was plopped out of a movie studio's ass and served to us for $10 a ticket. I couldn't even tell you a single character that I liked in this movie. I thought they were all pretty bland, pretty one-dimensional, very much just kind of shells of characters rather than fully fledged characters themselves. The relationships that they have with each other is just very kind of one note and doesn't really lead to anywhere. It doesn't feel like they've earned any of the relationships that they establish at the end, and this movie was just an overall letdown, I guess. Even though I wasn't even expecting to be impressed with it, I was at least expecting to be entertained in some way, and I just wasn't. The writing is very lazy. Like I said before, it feels like a lot of conveniences in the script rather than just the situations seeming to play out naturally. There are these two cross keys that they use throughout the film where it feels like it's just the whole MacGuffin throughout the entire thing, where they just solve every single problem that they come across. Oh, we're drowning in a sewer and we have to try to escape before the water rises and kills us. Oh, we got the keys for that. Oh, we have to pass through this door with the secret code. Oh, we got the keys for that. Oh, I have to find this point on a map where the treasure might be. Oh, the keys are a compass. Like, the keys are just an excuse for the movie to carry on the way it does, and it just feels like a cheap and lazy way to write the story forward. And of course, by the end, you can tell that they're doing the whole Marvel Universe thing where they have like an end scene after like the main credits, and there's like a continuation with Nathan Drake's brother Sam, which is kind of like his mission throughout the movie. So yeah, that's this movie. Fuck off. 3 out of 10. Bye-bye.